So that was over the weekend.
Looks like it.
I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Mr. Detzel.
Here.
Mr. Heather.
Here.
Mr. Harlow.
Here.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone's received a copy of the minutes from last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, Chris? Chris, did you vote? Motion passes 5-0. Pauletta?
Yes. It is our great pleasure this evening to recognize a state champion in track and field from Northwest High School. And doing that honor will be Mr. Brad Watkins, Athletic Director at Northwest High School, and our champion's coach, Miss Laurie Spence. If you would both come up.
Okay, I'm going to speak very briefly, and then I'll turn things over to Coach Spence to brag on Malik. But you know, as an athletic director and a school administrator, it's always these are the fun moments. It's always a privilege to come up and recognize our students' hard work paying off. And Malik did just that at the beginning of June with all his hard work. We had a luncheon the other day and invited his family and friends over to the high school, and I told Malik then in front of everybody, I'm going to do it now. It's just, I'm so proud and so thankful for how he's represented Northwest High School and Northwest Local School District. I mean, you look at everything that goes into being a student athlete is right there in front of you. Hard work, you know, training in the off season, hard work, paying off in competition and being competitive, but the academics as well. You know, Malik's going to go on to Kent State University here this fall. He is going to have no issues, you know, trying to find that balance between work and study because he's practiced good habits throughout his 4 years at Northwest High School. So Malik, again, thank you for being a representative of Northwest High School and Northwest Local Schools. Coach Spence?
Okay, I've been waiting for a whole year for this. I don't know if last year we kind of had a false start in our districts in the 110 hurdles. So this is kind of like Christmas. You're waiting the whole year. We knew we had a champion on our hands, but we had to wait for it. And track and field is all about trying to get them ready for that meet and no injuries. And along the way, you'll see athletes at the beginning of the season look really good, and then all of a sudden, where'd that athlete go? So that's our main issue. And every meet, I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Because I wanted him to be the state champion because he had the times. We just had to get him there. This season was a little rough, too, because it rained every track meet. It'd be great all season. Track meet come up. It's rain, wind, snow, sleet. We had it all this year. So it was a long season, but we made it to June, and we have a state champion. Not only in the 110 hurdles, but also in the 200 meter. And he got second in the long jump. Malik, why don't you come on up? Malik is our runner of the year in the SWAC meet. He placed first in the long jump, the 110 hurdles, the 200 meter dash, and the 300 meter hurdles. He broke 3 stadium records this year, and he broke 2 school records. So he broke the 110 hurdles, which his teammate Jameel Tremble, who runs for Air Force Academy, who just qualified for the Olympic trials earlier this month, He beat his record, so immediately I had to text him and say, guess what, your record's broken. So he wasn't too thrilled about that. And then he also broke another teammate's record that he was on the 4x1 meter relay that won the state last year. Devon Jackson, who had the 200-meter record, was a 21.66. Malik ran a 21.27, right? So I immediately had to text him, and he hasn't talked to me since. So, he hasn't talked to Malik either, so I don't think he was too happy about that. He also set the district record in the 110 hurdles, which Jameel Tremble also held that. He was La Rosa's Athlete of the Week in May, which then he got to go to the Hall of Fame where Pete Rose spoke the other night, and he was honored with the Athlete of the Year for track and field. So that was a great honor, and it was a unanimous vote. Usually we go to these meetings, you've got coaches trying to vie for who should be that athlete. No other coach would even put another one up because they knew it should be Malik. So it's a great honor. Malik went to the state in the long jump, the 200 meter, and the 110 hurdles. He also qualified for regions in the 300 meter hurdles. He was first. He got 4 first places in the district, and so we had to make a decision. What am I going to pull him out of, because he can't run those 4 events. The reason 300 meter hurdles and the 200 are back-to-back in prelims. It's kind of hard to run the 300 meter hurdles, which is a really tough event. It's like running the 400 and then coming right back up, not even get a break, and then run the 200. Knowing this, but I used it as training in the district meet because I knew it's hard to train, so I used that as training. So he decided he wanted to run the 200, which was a good choice because he came in first. So it's only the 5th time he's run that this year. So he just got better every single time he ran. So every time he ran it, he broke another record. So it was awesome. So he's been qualified for 9 different events at the state meet in the last 4 years. So 2014, he qualified for the long jump in the 4x2, which also he's one of the 4x2 meter relay school record holders. He also qualified in 2015 in the long jump, the 4x1, the 4x4, and the 300 meter hurdles. And then 2016, he qualified in the long jump, the 110 hurdles, and the 200 meter. So I could read these on and on, which when I was looking them up today, I was like, wow. There was just a long list. So I'm very excited to be representing you tonight. And his coach at Kent State's so excited to have him. It's a diamond. He found a diamond. Lots of coaches. He missed last year since he didn't qualify for the state last year because of a false start. A lot of coaches missed him. So Kent State's getting a diamond. All the other coaches are calling like, where's he going? I'm getting texts, I'm getting emails, I'm getting phone calls. Where's he going? I'm like, he's going to Kent State. You missed out. So Kent State's got a diamond. So congratulations, and we're very proud of you.
Lori, I think another thing, I know I mentioned it the week of, but this guy right here was 3 points away from being state runner-up for a whole team. One guy. I mean, that is amazing. That right there says it all. He could almost was state runner-up as a team, where the other 2 schools that won it and were state runner-up had a lot of different individuals participating in a lot of events. So that was very, very impressive.
We were definitely watching during the meet. And I had 2 other coaches doing points. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So, yeah, we did place 3rd place at the state meet this year with Malik. He was our only athlete at the state meet. So we had 28 points, and the next team had 32. So it's very exciting, and we thank you. He's like, how am I doing as a team? I'm like, you're doing awesome.
Coach Miller, I get there, and the first thing he said to me was, don't tell Coach Spence, but we could win this whole thing. Like, why wouldn't I tell? Oh, all right, yeah. So it was.
Hey Malik,
awesome to watch.
I know seeing this overweight, thinning-haired body, it's hard to believe that I too was a long jumper. Kind of built like you back at Coleraine in the early 70s. We had a lot of similarities. The only difference is you jumped about 3.5 feet longer than I did. I look at those jumps, I mean, back then, I mean, all the times and distances have gotten so much better, but back then, if you could jump 20 feet 6 inches, you were really, really good. And what did you do, like 22.2 or something?
24-1.
Well, make that 4. 5, you know, that is like unbelievable. And there was nobody. I mean, there was nobody. I think the winning state jump back then was probably like 22.3 or something. And it's like Jesse Owens, you know, caliber. I mean, unbelievable. And I wish you were going to UC.
He did visit UC, but
I told him the day before he left for state, I said he gets to keep his blue and gold colors at Kent, so he's going to do great. They got a great coach up there.
You know, I don't know all the history. Jamel's doing pretty well in college, did pretty well in high school, but you go back to Kevin Allen, I think he was the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft by the Eagles. Preston Brown, the success he's having, but I've thought long and hard, and I don't know of a better athlete in high school that's ever been besides yourself. You might be the greatest we've ever had.
You know, bar none, it's the best track athlete we've had
In
in
the
this
whole
district's history. You know, so, and I saw him run at the district and the region, and it wasn't even close. He blew them away, so.
well, and I had lots of individuals say, well, once he gets, you know, some competition, he's going to not do as well. Well, he was, you know, 13.93, and the next one came in at 14.4.
Yeah.
So state meet. Yeah. So he did well at every level. You know, it's like when he needed to, he stepped it up. So it was awesome.
I expect Jamel's senior year between him and Malik, we should have a heck of an Olympic trial.
Oh, that'd be
Well, I'm pretty excited because next year I think they run the Drake relays together. They'll against each other. So they both run the 110s. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see that, and I think I'll probably be there.
Has he recovered from that hamstring pull?
He has not yet.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that at the NCAAs.
Yeah. it's that.
Malik, are you going to long jump at Kent?
Yes, sir.
Well, good luck up there. I'll be looking at those numbers in the internet, following the Kent State Golden Flashes and
Yeah.
making sure I see your name.
Well, good luck as a graduate of the University of Toledo. I'm glad that you're joining the Big Mac attack. So that's good.
Mrs. Stetzel, Mr. Bowling, if you would present Malik with
Be
his
glad
award.
to.
Malik, we're going to have you come out here in the middle. And
Right there.
if you would read what they are, that'd be great.
Ready to take off my glasses one more time. This is second place in the long jump.
Look in here. Malik, I have to ask, did you win the LaSalle Legends Classic?
Yes.
Oh, that's good, because I can put that in the caption. LaSalle t-shirt on.
Perfect picture for that. Here, take it out.
Would you put your arm around him and cover up?
There you go.
We'll do that with the first
Well,
place
there you
here.
go.
We have one high school
Both up
student
there.
in the audience, and he goes to St. X.
This is state champion in the 200 meters and the 110 hurdles.
Great. There we go. Nice to smile. I'm going to take one more just to be sure. Good. Thank you. Congratulations.
That was very exciting, the whole season. Okay, we'll move into our master facility plan update.
Yes, next we have Pete Becker, who is going to give an update on where we are with sites and some other issues with our master facility plan.
Thank you. I'm here with Mike Parkinson from SHP Leading Design to talk about where we are with the three sites and the different options.
You got your blue and yellow tie on, gold tie on for
That's right,
Northwest
everyone.
too.
Perfect night for that, isn't it?
Yes.
Mike, you want to talk a little bit about the layouts here at Struble?
Sure. So we've gone through a number of different analysis. We've gone through geotechnical engineering, traffic impact studies, and
looking at basically the orange footprint there being sort of the boundaries of the school, and Struble being really the most restrictive as far as how these buildings are going to be placed on there. You know, out at Taylor we have a substantial drop-off in the area shown in red. So using that single building design and being able to balance not only existing structures on there, but existing topography, utilities, access to the site, and all those features. Pleasant Run, you know, placing that building up there close to the middle school, looking at site access and topography. Again, looking at this same building footprint and really be able to balance a single design and looking at the sweet spot, giving the district its greatest bang for the buck, if you will. Here with the two-story option, there's going to be three options that we've considered here. One being a two-story option, one being a walkout option, and the third being a hybrid option, which we feel is going to offer the district the greatest opportunity with not only site but the dollars available for the project. This two-story option really just being a traditional two-story school that all of you are very familiar with, a building that's really set on grade with a two-story classroom wing, a single classroom wing, and the assembly spaces in between.
So basically the upper right would slide right over the top of the upper left half of that the building on the left, and that would be the two-story up above that academic
Correct.
section
Correct.
on the top up in this area. This would just slide over. That would be two-story. The rest of this would be all on grade.
Sort of like Dan Weigel is now, because we have, I think, 2 stories at the far end, very much like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would actually be.
Yeah, it'd be more of
To the walkout.
walkout hybrid, I would say, yeah.
So then we looked at.
So here being the walkout, you have basically the upper level, which is really the main level, if you will. You would walk in at the upper level, and then the portion you see over to the left, the lower level, would be placed under that upper level portion. And Pete will get into later on here some of the cost and grading things that we looked at.
So basically in here, the dining, the gym, some of these common spaces are down built into the hill. And then this is basically this all would slide right over in here. These would be high volume spaces. This would be the two-story academic, and then on the other end of the building, either on the north or the south side, would be the other academic pod.
Hybrid being really your sweet spot, not only provides a more compact footprint, which gives you a better energy efficiency, less roof to have to cover, but a great educational facility. We feel that the hybrid option really balances the education and the dollars available, and really create a dynamic learning environment for your education for the elementary students.
So basically everything's on the grade level here. This is your common spaces.
Yes, you'd walk in here at the mid-level, so you would have a classroom wing, and your assembly spaces, your kindergarten, and all the younger kids would all have access to those spaces without having to walk up or down. So you come in here on the mid-level, and then once you're in that classroom pod, you either go down one to another classroom learning community, or go up to another learning community. So it creates those dynamics in that sense.
So taking advantage of the topography on Struble, at the end of the day, this would be slide right over underneath here on the mid-level area, and then this would come over here and stack on this same footprint area on one story up above we'll call it level 1, being the grade level, similar to Struble, the first floor right now. So what we did is, we did a lot of cost analysis of options, the 2-story option, the walkout basement option, and then the hybrid option. And actually, a couple weeks ago, we were just talking about the 2-story option and the walkout option. And when we put our teams together and started brainstorming and saying, what was the differences, and how could we still get that same feel, taking advantage of the topography, dropping off the back of Struble and Taylor coming down towards the existing Taylor Elementary, we ran some numbers. What I did here is I collapsed a lot of data because I didn't want to, it was hard to really read. So for each site we went in and we evaluated the two-story cost option, and we broke down the site and we broke down the foundation. And you'll see this item here, the foundation retaining walls. That's basically the concrete walls that would be built into the hillside to retain the earth to get that lower level option. We ran the two-story on Struble against the walkout, and there was a, you know, pretty decent little upcharge for just that specific site. We got our teams together to try to give that same feel, allow like on Struble and the other sites to compact the footprint of the building, eliminate 25,000 square feet of roof, eliminate like on the option of the academic wing away from the other academic side, eliminate foundation systems, plumbing underground. And at the end of the day, you know, early in the cost studies, you know, we're pretty tight between the two-story option and the hybrid option in comparison to the big area walkout. We then went over to Taylor, explored the same concept, you know, came in and said, now this is construction cost only. So up in the budget, there's construction costs and then there's dollars associated with soft costs, which would be design fees, CM fees, permitting, soils reports, etc. So with the two-story cost on the Taylor site, we were at 16.3 compared to 16.5 for the walkout. But then we got you pretty much back to where you could still have that feel of that kind of flavor that was wanted with the walkout option and with the hybrid. And then the benefits long terms are things like less roof area, one common stacked classrooms, your plumbing stacks line up. It's just more efficient design.
Less foundations.
Yes. We go to Pleasant Run, which is our most challenging site from a site point of view, but at the end of the day, when we priced the two-story, you know, compared to the hybrid with the walkout, there was about the range to go from the two-story to the walkout basement option was about a $200 to $300 per building increase, simply based on the structure and the foundation systems that separate the academic pod from the common area. We priced up the hybrid and we were pretty much right on track with what where we were at within the budget. Whoops. So what we did then is sort of put together a summary of the two-story option. You know, we compared all three buildings. You know, this is the budget in the current ELP agreement with the state on the co-funded values of the construction costs. Here's our estimates that we had back on each individual site. So by the time we come in and look, you know, obviously we design in this building the one footprint to get all three buildings the same. You know, we designed it around the Struble site to take advantage of the building and the site with the restrictions. What it does do, the compact footprint of this building allows more room to where we can squeeze the building between the west side of Struble Elementary and then the property line setbacks over against the neighborhood on the far west side of that property. So at the end of the day, we're within 20 grand under of the budget for the two-story option. We go to that walkout option. You know, you can see the difference. Here's I forgot to put the things here. This is the ELP budget. This is our estimate we presented on the different building options. You know, we're in that 200 to 300 range on average. You know, that range between on the budget. And at the end of the day, you add that up where, you know, it's an increase of the cost to get the walkout feel as it relates to the ELP budget for the construction costs. Came back to the hybrid option. When we ran the estimates here, comparison for all three sites compared to the ELP budget, you know, we're pretty much back to the same, you know, the two-story versus the hybrid options is pretty much, we feel like, you know, we can design these things and hold the budget. What you'll see real quick is, you know, when you look at this option here, you can see this foundation structure to retain the earth. That comes at compared to a two-story. That's a premium that would be part of that cost. But you get the efficiencies by not adding a academic pod over here for the footings, the undergrounds, the roof area. You pop it on top of the mid-level, go up one floor, and then we feel the efficiencies of that. Dave Williams couldn't be here tonight. He had to go to another family event, but his eyes lit up when we started talking. When the estimator's eyes light up and he says, man, I really like that option, that gives us budget opportunities for the district it gives you the feel for using the space out there on site. Anyway, another thing we were talking about, it's always been the district's desire with the community about having a large gymnasium that can be used at all your facilities for your community. If you want,
Yeah, so this is a basically a 7,200 square foot gym. We would have the same size gym at all of your elementaries. This at Pleasant Run Elementary School in particular, it will have currently showing 469 seats, a 74 by 50 high school size court, and 2 cross courts approximately 68 by 37, with your clear space from your floor to bottom of structure at a minimum of 23. The wood gym floor, of course, included with that. So it's going to be a great building. I think that with that hybrid option, as we've gone through, we're not just looking at the dollars and cents. We're also looking at the educational value that option brings from a.
Just curious, how many does like Pleasant Run Middle School? Because I know it's a very tiny gym. Is that do you know offhand?
Around 500-600. We asked Dave, since they still will have access to the bleachers, because we want to encourage middle school kids to come in, there's plenty of seating.
and that's pretty much our update for where we're at.
And I'd like to add a couple comments. One, because I can, and these guys have been great to work with. But our executive committee met the other day, and Jim and Bob can attest, we did not have dollar amounts with each version. I think if you go back to the gym, I think that's some of the things we talked to the community about, renting out. They're at a size where they can go diagonally and go side by side and have practices for games. There's enough room on each side, even at the other 2 gyms. If you have 2 teams of 10 playing each other, we can set up chairs where enough people could watch the games and still have rental facilities. Everybody we looked at had a 2-story. They all looked the same. We wanted to be unique. We wanted to be something that stood out. I think the facade with the hybrid can be changed and manipulated in a way that'll look very unique that nobody else does have. What I liked is academically, and Amy and Chris, feel free to, or Darryl, you've been in on these meetings too, is we cannot control sections with enrollment fluctuating up and down, as you folks have seen for the past 10 years. Let's say all of a sudden you only need 5 sections of first grade compared to it's built for 6. Or let's say it's the opposite, you need a 7th section. So you want the kids nearby. And the walkout and the bi-level, there would be a long walk just to get to the other wing if kids ever had to go up. The other thing we're looking at is enrichment. Maybe we have some 2nd graders who's ready to move up to a 3rd grade class and do some activities with them. Vice versa, 4th to 5th, at the Pleasant Run site, even over to the middle school. Special education having access to all levels. It's easier to lock down when all the kids are in one area. That's what was attractive to us about the hybrid. But what we could do academically and some other things. And then just the uniqueness of it. I don't think you see it anywhere else. So when they brought it to the table, it very much caught our interest.
One thing I'd be concerned about in any model is nobody likes to look at a brick wall in the community. It was near a house, or has a house that's near a school. I know we had, if you can just remember a few years ago what the Colerain Avenue side Northgate Mall looked like when it was all brick, when it was Dillard's, and what it looks like now. Night and day difference. And obviously, I guess on the gym side, no matter what, we're probably going to have a brick wall.
Not necessarily. They'll have as much natural lighting as possible. Some of it will be.
Currently, we're thinking high, clear story daylighting in there.
Okay.
The more we can daylight your space, obviously, the better it feels as a student in there.
Even as from an administrative standpoint, teaching is a great place to learn and teach. And it also could reduce your electrical loads, right? Mm-hmm. So we're looking at all those things, creating this very tight envelope, right, and a very efficient envelope, but also looking at getting you as much daylight into those spaces as possible.
The gym's another good point. The way it is in the hybrid and one of the other models, it can be singled off. So when you rent it, there's no access to the rest of the school. Our custodians aren't concerned tonight when they're there alone, but you just open that place up. It has restrooms there. They have no reason to go anywhere else in the building, so we've tried to make sure that can happen
As
also.
someone that's utilized rental all the gyms, through my son, the quick in, quick out is preferred.
Right.
And having that single, because I know when we've rented some buildings, people go in and they're like, okay, where's the gym?
Yeah,
They
finding
wander around.
Colerain.
Yeah, exactly. So
You shouldn't have an issue here.
yeah.
So on Wednesday, we are going to present with the numbers, the executive committee recommendation to go with the hybrid model. We wanted to present it to you tonight. If you had any questions or concerns, give us a call. We'll look them up for you. We'll get you your answers, and we'll go from there.
You don't happen to have like a sample picture of a hybrid similar?
Greg did a 3D version. It was dark. If he could lighten that up, maybe that would help.
We can certainly do it. I think you were asking for like maybe a case study of another building.
Just something so we kind of get an idea.
Well, yeah, we'll be going through what we call sort of a massing study that'll look at the massing of the building and how it fits on the site. It's really taken it to the next level. As you look at it, we have this basically a lump of clay, and we're beginning to hone in that clay and beginning to carve it and really begin to formulate it, based on all the input that we've received. So yeah, that's really the next step as we begin to make this thing, three-dimensional, if you will.
Yeah, right now, it's just a gray massing study that looks like a tank. That's real.
Come on, it
different
looks
shades of
better
gray.
than a tank.
I don't know, I thought it looked like a tank.
And a lot of it, the soil samples came
Fancy
back.
tank.
Some other
Fancy
things we didn't have at the last one. We now have those. It shows what we're up against and what we can do. So those numbers are legit for what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Remember, going to hybrid versus some of the others saves us about $900,000, depending on which model you go about, right? $300,000 per school. We're looking at a bridge that could be anywhere from $500,000, probably closer to $1 million out the back of Struble. So it all works and fits into that.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Michael, do you have a legislative update?
Yes, I do. Tonight I'll talk about some of the legislation that was signed into law recently that actually got the governor's autograph, and maybe later in the summer. I know a lot of things happen at the end of the session, and so some things are kind of left hanging. They pass the House, not the Senate, or the other way around. So tonight I'm just going to talk about the ones that passed the House and the Senate and were signed into law. Later on we'll cover the ones that are in one chamber and are pending in the other, and will be taken up most likely in a lame duck session after the November election. So first I'm going to start off with is House Bill 264, which will be very much of interest to parents, and that's the sales tax holiday. It's August 5th, 6th, and 7th this year. State sales tax is waived on clothing items priced less than $75, and school supplies or instructional materials priced less than $20. The county sales tax, which I guess is maybe a half or a 1% or something, is still collected, but you're going to save about 5 or 5.5% with the state sales taxes on that. I think it's 5.5, so it's a good savings. As my wife reminds me, it's almost like having your own Target card no matter where you go. So House Bill 113, this requires all high school students to be trained in CPR and AED usage. Students can receive certification if it's taught by a certified instructor and if it meets Red Cross or American Heart Association standards requirements. Also requires all school personnel to be trained in AED usage by July 1st of 2018 and retrained every 5 years. House Bill 2 is mostly a charter school reform. It does include some accountability measures, which are already closing some charter schools and causing school sponsors to take a second look at some of their others. Many public school districts run dropout prevention and recovery schools. The study committee called for, and the law is already meeting, but I just brought this up because Northwest, with its truancy prevention plans, is actually ahead of many districts in terms of implementing some prevention strategies. So that was good. Some of the things we talked about at the last meeting that Daryl's been working on, and so many other people here have been working on too. And finally, it was signed a while ago. It was controversial, House Bill 70. It was signed into law last year, and the reform of the Academic Distress Commission is what got the most attention, but the law also includes provisions for establishing community learning centers, which is something that may be of interest to our building committee. Community learning centers allow for partnerships to be developed with healthcare and other service providers, arts organizations, and other centers which allow for school space to be rented in return for residents' access to such services. So a lot of buildings in Cincinnati Public are community learning centers. It's an undertaking. It's definitely something to be explored. And so, like I said, next time I will discuss the bills that pass one chamber and are pending in the other.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Jim, do we have a Butler Tech update?
Yeah, just a couple items. Mike Perry, who the administration knows as the executive director of secondary education, he resigned because he took a superintendent's job up in Ashland, Ohio. And he starts at the end of July. He goes from the largest tech school in the state to the smallest tech school. So it's a good step for him. And our interim superintendent, Laura Sage, she did such a great job. We came up with a new position. She's going to be in charge of the Director of Workforce Services. And she'll be the liaison to the local workforce and develop, community, educational, and business partnerships, for the kids, through Butler Tech. And she does a really good job at that and getting out there into the public, and, getting internships and getting our kids placed in jobs. And John Graft, our superintendent, his first day will be August the 1st. He takes over. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. Now, do we have any reports from employee organizations? Certificated? Classified? Reports for any school-related organizations? At this time, I have not received any requests for community comments.
I would just like to take a moment and recognize the 4 young men here earning a Boy Scout merit badge who come to us from St. James, and this one student back there is already at St. X. I'm sure he really enjoyed seeing Malik in the LaSalle T-shirt. But it's a good meeting to come. Welcome, and I'm glad you guys are here tonight.
There will be a portion at the end of the meeting. If you have any questions of anything that happened during the meeting, you can ask us. Okay, turn it over to Todd.
All right, the first item is a fiscal item. It is the financial reports of the treasurer in accordance with Section 3313.29 of Ohio Revised Code, State of Ohio. Record needs to be made with the treasurer submitted a financial statement of receipts, expenditures, balances, and investments in regular funds of the Board of Education for the period of the fiscal year 2016. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a certificated licensed personnel action item. Please find certified supplementals and certified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Sorry, my computer is messing up. It keeps going back to where it's not supposed to be. And there it goes again. Come on. There we go. The next is a classified retirements and resignation. Please find classified retirements and resignations as listed. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
And it's doing the same thing. I'm still with you here. The next item is a fiscal item. It's new funds for fiscal year 2017. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the new funds as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
A lot of these, obviously the class of 2020s, for student funds, were a lot of these done just because of some of the regulations we've had to implement around wage and hour
It's to set
issues?
their fundraising accounts. Right now, they don't have them on our books.
Okay.
So it's to set them up so they have separate accounts and then they can run their
They're good to go
funds
for next
through
year.
the district versus sport groups.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is also a fiscal item, petty cash and change funds for the fiscal year 2017. It is an approval of petty cash and change funds for the school buildings. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the petty cash and change funds for the fiscal year 2017 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions regarding petty cash and change funds? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is also a fiscal item. It is our vendor contracts in compliance with ORC 3313.33. Attached is a list of vendor contracts requiring board authorization. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded on vendor contracts. Any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item. It is final fiscal year appropriation, fiscal year 16 appropriation resolution. The Superintendent and Treasurer recommends the Board of Education approve the final fiscal year 16 appropriation resolution as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a fiscal item also. It is approve, accept, and an appropriation of new fund for the fiscal year 2016. The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve, accept, and appropriate the new fund as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item. It is advances from general fund for the fiscal year 2016. Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the advances from general fund as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0. Just to let our guests know also, the board gets the agenda ahead of time, so we've looked over all this, so that's why it's kind of going kind of quick, because most of the time if we have any questions, we can call ahead of time to get clarification. Okay.
The next item is a fiscal item. It is records retention schedule. The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the records retention schedule as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a general business item. It is our insurance renewal for liability. Attached is our property liability auto insurance coverage premium analysis performed by our consultants, the SIC Group. Due to our high claim history, 2 prospective vendors declined to provide proposals, and 1, Trident, our current provider, provided a proposal with a 13% or $11,468 per year increase on our premium. As a reminder, the last 2 years we have stayed the same. We have had incidents this year where we have sometimes not been at fault for anything, but the other car or driver has not had insurance. So things like that tend to add up. If you break it down, this is really an increase over 3 years. We've had good years. We expect to return to the good years next year. But the SIC Group is a broker who goes out and gets the best bids for us, and it's not just a sole person. So the Superintendent recommends the Board of Education accept a proposal provided by the Trident Insurance Agency, which is a 13% or $11,468 increase in our premium over last year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a general business item. It is a resolution to declare students impractical to transport. The following students attending non-public schools are entitled to receive state average payment in lieu of transportation. So we have a resolution declaring these students impractical to transport. The Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the resolution to declare students impractical to transport as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is the certificated licensed personnel items. Please find administrator salary schedule for 200 and 212-day contracts, as we've discussed in the past, certificated approvals and supplemental approvals, and a resolution to suspend certificated staff contract in accordance with applicable reduction in force provisions of the negotiated labor agreement. The salary schedules, as we've talked, as folks will leave the district and we replace assistant principals, they will go from a 247 to a 212 contract. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Are there any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a classified personnel item. It is for action. Please find an OP resolution for the Human Resources, Treasurer's Department, and Superintendent OP positions, an office personnel salary schedule, a custodial and maintenance salary schedule, and classified approvals. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any questions or comments on classified personnel? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next category is a miscellaneous category. These are the district handbooks. These are the district handbooks that were presented at the June 13th board meeting and are being presented for the board for approval. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the district handbooks as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second on district handbooks. Any questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item, come on, computer, is Student Services Information, Harassment, Intimidation, and Bullying Semi-Annual Report. Review of the official harassment, intimidation, and bullying complaints that were investigated and determined to be HIB or not. So this is for information. Again, I apologize. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing, but I will talk to Matt tomorrow. The next one is 2016-2017 district handbooks. These were the last ones we needed to be on. The district handbooks are being presented as items for information to be considered for approval at the July 11th board meeting. I have copies of them and can email to them or get them to you at any time. It is our certificated and licensed staff handbook, which was on last time, but it was the wrong version, so it is the correct version this time, and our home instruction handbook. So this is for information only. We will look for approval at the July 11th board meeting.
Okay.
That takes us to one quick update that I wanted to share with you. Our curriculum department, Daryl, Brenda, Leslie Silbernakel, and Jenny Blessed, and anybody else, I'm sure Treasurer's Department had some to do with it for the appropriations, but we have been awarded a straight A grant. We are one of 23 districts out of 141 applications. This is very tough to get, and it takes a lot of work on a lot of people. Ours is our STEM grant, which is an engaging middle school program aimed at using computer programming and robotics to help improve student achievement in mathematics. And it was for the amount of $263,000.56.
Nice.
Daryl, anything you want to add?
Yeah. I just want to say that, our superintendent's absolutely right. These are not easy to get. There's usually about a 10 to 20% success rate, if that. In a previous lifetime, I graded some of these, and I can tell you the competition is intense because not only do you have to pass, it's a several-step process. You have to pass fiscal muster that they believe that this will be a wise investment of taxpayer dollars. Then you have to pass programming muster, which is where I scored, and that's where the the evaluators have to believe that this is going to be good. Then it's going to be very educational for students. Then it goes through an analysis that a professor at Ohio State does, and I have no idea what the heck he even does, but it involves a lot of number crunching and make sure that our scores are appropriate for, if somebody graded something high, but they graded everything high, then you kind of discount it. It involves a lot of advanced math that has a lot to do with why I was a political science major and not anything else. And so they cross that hurdle, and then they're in a pool to be recommended. That's not even guaranteed yet. After that, then they have to be recommended, and it's in a blind. They don't know who it is, which district. It's all redacted. All the locational information is redacted. And one of 7 people on this board has to recommend your project.
Wow.
So it's it is a very grueling process to get through. And it was outstanding work.
So just to give you an update of what it actually entails, it's a program out of California from UC Davis called CSTEM, which is completely aligned to math content standards, but it teaches math through robotics and engineering. So we'll be having them come out and train some of our middle school math teachers who will be doing this as an elective. So students will get, this is an elective math course to reinforce math concepts through robotics. We've partnered with Xavier University, who will also be partnering with us and learning the C-STEM and then coming through and helping with overseeing our implementation and making sure that we have fidelity to the implementation, as well as partnering with us to offer professional development to all of our middle school math people to get them started on a math endorsement that's offered through Xavier. So there's a lot of components about this that focus on middle school math improvement, and focus on robotics with middle school reinforcement.
And the excellent work that we've done in robotics already with some of our competitions was probably a big factor in this.
It will feed into the high school program very well.
Very nice.
Very good.
Okay, at this time, if there's anybody in the audience that has any questions on anything we've discussed at the meeting, they can ask now. Okay. So we'll move on to board member comments. Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah, Pam, just, Tom, was there something about the chlorine cleaning of the?
Yes. Chris, you want to talk about what you guys did today?
Yeah, today we toured the Colerain High School. Basically, we're looking at and prioritizing the projects that we want to pick up in the renovations. Some of those would be looking at the front canopy, getting rid of the rusting and failing concrete canopy, getting aluminum canopies out there that would look a lot nicer. Doing the second floor, the entire second floor, flooring, lighting, ceilings, paint, doors. And then there's some other items, but we kind of want to take a look at the entire exterior of the building before we go up there and pressure wash. Because there's other things that need to be taken into account before you pressure wash a building, such as if any tuck pointing, if there's any other exterior openings in the building that need to be corrected prior to the pressure washing.
So it's a pressure washing, not a chemical process?
There probably is a chemical that's
It's
used.
going to be a
Probably
restoration clean for the masonry.
Yeah, ProSoco is a brand chemical that is used quite frequently and like this, but Chris is on point on getting the tuck pointing and if there's any sort of lintels that are spalding or looking at getting those things corrected and then do the pressure wash.
And the way you guys talked today, because we happened to be there and coming out as they were there, we wouldn't want to clean it. We wouldn't want to replace that shelter that's out front, then clean it. We would want to simultaneously work it. And it's not only that shelter, it's the concrete, the trip hazards that are down there. It's just replacing that whole covering with something that's nice looking and simultaneously trying to clean the brook also and then do the brick and the tuck points and everything else also.
So we don't want to clean that brick, and then probably saw cutting is going to be involved to remove that concrete structure.
So we're talking next summer then, or?
Probably, yes.
Okay. When you look at it from the back, I mean, I was over there with some friends, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, that school looks so worn." And you make it white, gets that ceramic white brick. It's just like your dirty bathroom. Once you clean it, it looks like it's brand new. So, but if that's the way it needs to be, that's fine. But I think it'll just be a good reflection. It's sort of the flagship school.
Something that large, once you mobilize that process, you want to keep them moving. You don't want to do a section.
Well, I appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michael?
I would just like to recognize Corey Heffron for being all Ohio baseball. Corey High School.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. It was in the paper over the weekend.
Jim?
Just wanted to wish Malik Beverly good luck at Kent State, because he had one heck of a career in the track and field, and and kind of went back and checked all the records and that, and he absolutely had the best state meet ever in this school's history, and just want to congratulate him and his mom and dad also.
I think Grandpa was here. He told me he's coached him. I think he's been running since he was like 5 or something. He's been to all his meets. Bob?
Just like Jim said, congratulations to Malik, and thanks for the Boy Scouts to come to our meeting tonight and earn their badges.
You guys lucked out. It wasn't a real long one.
They had help in planning that.
Did they? Okay, with that, I will call, actually, we are going into executive session. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Chris? Motion passes 5-0. We are moving into an executive session where we go back. There will not be any action afterwards when we come back. You're welcome to stay, but for the most part, the meeting's pretty much over.
So Michael, what are your sources telling you?